everyone. Vanessa Kelman here again with another story behind the stories. Today we're diving into the second Pine Valley novel, Between the Moments. So, of course, as a series, I had to keep going with some of the characters from the first book. And that is, part of the story behind the story, I suppose, but it gets a little bit more involved in that. Now, I didn't mention in the Searching for Home video because it wasn't really a big part of it, but one of the characters who kind of takes on a larger role as the story goes on, Richard, is actually a character from a story I wrote a very long time ago. So, when I was in college, many years ago, more than I care to admit, I audited a creative writing course. And while I was taking that course, I started a novel. And I would never end up finishing that novel, but it stuck with me. The characters, the story stuck with me. And I'm not even sure why I started this novel. The subject matter wasn't really something I had an interest in, but I think that even back then, I was interested in how people overcome challenges to survive and thrive. So I had a character. Her name was Allison, and her father's name was Richard. And so their stories, I felt, even if I was never going to finish that first novel, which maybe someday I will, who knows, as a prequel to Pine Valley, perhaps. But even if I never finished that, I felt that their story needed to be told. I needed to find out what happened to them. So I decided when I needed a character to enter Maggie's life I was going to introduce Richard. Now, in this other book that I started so many years ago, Richard owned a restaurant. And I figured that was the perfect opportunity because he had a connection already with Maggie's story. So I brought in Richard. And he was, of course, a part of Searching for Home. And his story is getting told more in between the moments. But I'm also bringing in his daughter Allison and his granddaughter Katie. And a big part of Between the Moments is their story as well. So we have this story from many years ago, and the characters are now appearing in Between the Moments. Now, when I was writing Between the Moments, also, I kept in the back of my mind something that one of my beta readers from Searching for Home had said. Now, keeping in mind that she tends to read very different genre than what I normally write, she kind of planted the seed about having more drama, more action in there. So, in combination with these characters that I knew I wanted to bring in, I decided to add a few more elements of drama, get more intense, I guess, and just have more conflict going on. Not just the internal conflict that all my characters struggle with, but having some of that external conflict pop up as well. So, lots of things going on in this book. And I really think that it's probably my best one, or at least the one that I've been happy with so far. But getting there was definitely a process. So I'm happy to share how that one came about. And hopefully, I'll be able to get some, just as much inspiration from the next one. I already have a story behind that story, and it's not even written yet. So, this one will be the last fiction story behind the story for a little bit, but I will be diving into my nonfiction book next, so be sure to stay tuned for that one. And until then, have a great